Hi there. Thanks for tuning in and joining me for this information session for the 2024-2025 Partnership Fund Program. Here's just a quick look at what I'm going to be covering today. If you have any questions following viewing of this recording, please feel free to reach out via phone or email. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about your project specifically or about the program as a whole. To get started, I would like to acknowledge that the land we identify as RTO9 is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Huron-Wendat peoples. RTO9 and the Indigenous Tourism Ontario honor and respect the land, the people, and the treaties. We are extremely thankful for the original tour guides of these lands and all that they have shared. All those that reside, work, and play on these lands are treaty people, and we must honor the treaties in a mutually beneficial and equitable manner. With 1 in 5 Indigenous people in Canada living in Ontario, we believe working together in a mutually beneficial manner will help all Ontarians prosper through the joint development of the tourism industry. Ontario is home to one of the largest Indigenous tourism industries in Canada. RTO9 and ITO are pleased to be working side by side together under an MOU to help advance the Indigenous tourism industry in Ontario. As an ally to Indigenous people and a partner of Indigenous Tourism Ontario, RTO9 will commit to improving the socioeconomic conditions of Indigenous people through tourism by creating space for Indigenous people to tell their stories on their terms. Next, here's a quick introduction to myself. Hi, my name is Meg Davros. I'm the operations manager here at RTO9, and I'm responsible for managing the Partnership Fund program. During the application process and throughout the delivery of your project, if you're approved for funding, I will be your main point of contact. So please feel free to reach out to me with any questions or concerns using the contact information here. I am happy to connect directly with you over the phone or one-on-one Zoom meeting, and we can chat about your project before you even apply. I want to make sure you have all the information and tools you need before deciding to apply. I understand and appreciate that it takes some time to do so, so please do not hesitate to reach out. So we're just going to go over a quick overview of what is the Partnership Fund Program. So the Partnership Fund Program is an initiative designed to build on existing tourism products and aid in the creation of new ones to enhance the diversity of offerings throughout the region, ideally resulting in extended visitation within Southeastern Ontario. The estimated allocation from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Sport, or MTCS, as you will see in this presentation, is approximately $219,000. Here are some main objectives of both the ministry and RTO9 through offering this program. We'd like to enhance tourism across the province, especially overnight stays, support the RTO as a leader in regional tourism, but also as a resource for operators within the region, maximize support for tourism at a regional level by encouraging strong partnerships, expanding the breadth and diversity of funding partners, encourage RTOs to engage industry partners to broaden their financial base to extend reach. Support a coordinated approach that aligns planning, product development, investment attraction, and workforce development in the region. Assure the transparency and accountability of funding through the transfer payment agreement, and increase the economic tourism value to the region. So partner eligibility, who can actually apply for funding? All eligible partners must be involved in the tourism industry in some capacity. Eligible businesses include for-profit and not-for-profit tourism businesses who are either incorporated or have an active CRA business number. Indigenous operators eligible for this program must be at least 51% plus Indigenous owned and controlled. At the time of your submission of your application, for your application to be considered, you will need to provide a digital copy of either your incorporation certificate, your CRA business number, your certificate of Indian status registry number, or a Métis registry number. Organizations that are just looking for funding and are not interested in learning or understanding how their project fits within the tourism landscape will not be considered for this program. We're truly looking for organizations that want to help grow the visitor economy, which in turn will make our communities vibrant places to live and work. Organizations who are ineligible to apply for this funding include DMOs or DMPs or DMMPs, municipalities, museums, BIAs, chambers of commerce, or any other membership-based associations. The focus for the funding is to support operators and the people delivering our tourism products without bias. There are some requirements to be considered eligible for this program, one of which is $2 million general commercial liability insurance. With the RTO 9 listed as additionally insured, your insurance company should provide you with a certificate of insurance stating such at no charge. We only require the proof of insurance after you're accepted into the program. All applicants must be located within the region served by RTO 9. There is a map for reference included in the guidelines on the website if you're unsure. We also require you to communicate with your local DMO or DMP prior to applying for the program. Your DMO or DMP should provide you with a letter of confirmation or a letter of support to identify to the assessment team that you've shared your application with them. This is crucial because your DMO and DMP is going to be someone who can support your event or product. Maybe it's financially or maybe it's through marketing support, but it's crucial they know what's going on in their destination so that they can help amplify that message. We also require the disclosure of any additional funding you may be receiving for this project. So project categories, what kind of projects are being funded? We also want you to look at your proposed project through the tourism lens. So is your project going to help you drive and retain visitors from outside of the community or outside the region? Is there an opportunity for them to spend money while they're here? Is there a way to measure the success of your project? And at what points are you going to share your stories with RTO 9? So the first category is new events, and this is specifically brand new events or festivals entering into their very first year of operation. This can be a one-day event or one spanning multiple days or weeks. The important part here is something new, unique, and has the potential for longevity in the region, and it gets people excited about visiting. This is not an enhancement fund to bring an extra element to your annual event. It is intended to encourage new event creation and offer an opportunity for new organizers to get some financial support. Example of some expenses in this category include facility or equipment rentals, performer fees, workshop facilitators, tent rentals, gender neutral porta potty rentals, and more. If you're unsure if your project or expense would be considered under this category, again, please feel free to reach out to me. Our second category is development of Indigenous tourism products. So this category is intended to help support Indigenous tourism operators get established in Southeastern Ontario and to encourage partnerships and Indigenous participation between both Indigenous and non-Indigenous operators. So Indigenous operators must be 51% plus Indigenous owned and controlled to receive funding. Or if you're a non-Indigenous operator looking to contract an Indigenous supplier, they must be 51% plus Indigenous owned and controlled. So for example, if you're looking to offer an Indigenous culinary experience at your bed and breakfast, you must contract an Indigenous chef to carry out the experience. So some expenses in this category include business planning or website development to get an Indigenous operator established, or the contracting of an Indigenous operator to deliver an experience. If you're unsure if your project or expense would be considered under this category, again, reach out. I'm happy to answer questions. And then our third category is signage. So signage is an important part of your tourism business. If it's done right, good signage is clear, concise, and a valuable part of your branding. It can cause confusion and frustration if visitors are unable to locate your business due to poor or non-existent signage. Signage should be clear and avoid cognitive overload with too much information, excessive text, or graphics. So funding under this category could include costs associated with the design and installation of building signage, road and directional signage for rural tourism businesses, or trail marking. Design proofs must be submitted for approval before production in this category. But any questions you may have about this one too, same, and please feel free to reach out. So conditions of funding. What are the ministry guidelines for project funding? So the ministry's definition of a partner in the context of this partnership funding model, a partnership is defined as the agreement of the RTO to work with one or more entities on a specific project in support of the RTO's business plan. The RTO is the project lead, and the partner contributions flow into the RTO. They do not flow through to the partners. This means that the RTO 9 holds the funds for the projects and pays the invoices from suppliers directly for the project. The RTO 9 does not send funds to the partners. So projects may receive up to 50% funding for their eligible project. However, it's very important to note that this is not a grant program, it's a partnership program. So it requires a 50-50 funding split with the applicant. So for example, if you have a $10,000 project, your organization would contribute $5,000 and the RTO9 would contribute the other $5,000. It's also very important to note that this funding is inclusive of HST. So when you're budgeting out your project, be sure to account for HST on the invoices. The ministry sets guidelines for the use of the funds. So I'm just going to run through some of the ineligible expenses through this funding. But there's more on the RTO9 website. There's also some examples of eligible funding. You can access that document on our website. But some examples of ineligible expenses include grants and flow-through funding to other organizations, charitable fundraising, advocacy, donations to political parties or groups, capital costs associated with permanent structures. The exception to this is wayfinding signage. Competition prizes, prize money, or funds that are being paid to competition participants, previously incurred expenses, refundable portion of the HST or other refundable expenses, expenses that do not directly relate to the delivery of the project, in-kind donations, funds for operational funding, so this includes salaries or wages or insurance, and alcohol, food, or swag items. This one's extra important if you're planning on running an event. We cannot cover any alcohol or food expenses associated with the event. It's also important to note that based on ministry guidelines, the RTO9 cannot reimburse a partner directly. This is very important. It means you cannot run an expense through on your personal or company credit card and get reimbursed for that expense. We require an invoice from the supplier addressed to the RTO9, along with their information for an electronic funds transfer. And then the RTO9 pays your supplier directly. We also require any partners who entered into a contract with the RTO9 to pay their 50% contribution within 30 days of signing the contract, or the RTO9 reserves the right to reallocate those funds to another project. Payment must be made to the RTO9 electronically. So we don't accept cash or checks. You can pay your 50% contribution via EFT between your bank account and ours, or you can send an e-transfer using bruddock@region9tourism.ca. However, if you're sending an e-transfer, we ask that you include your name and invoice number in the notes section of your transfer. And finally, all payments must be made to a third-party vendor that has no affiliation with the recipient or contracted partner. So upon entering into a contract with the RTO9, all recipients are required to acknowledge the support received by the use of the Ontario Yours to Discover logo on all consumer-related materials, the Ontario Trillium logo on all industry-related materials. RTO9 reserves the right to approve logo placements prior to public release or production. Any public announcements or media releases require pre-approval from the RTO9. And all of these assets will be provided to you through Basecamp after you've been approved for funding. So once you've been approved for funding, there are some important next steps regarding documentation. So we do require a signed contract and supporting payment within 30 days of receipt of the contract. You must attend a mandatory Basecamp training session for your project. You have to notify me at the RTO9 within 30 days after your project closes, as all the funding will or will not be used. All invoices and supporting documentation, so insurance, for example, must be uploaded to the Basecamp folder that we will provide you. We also absolutely require the signed contract, your 50% contribution, and your insurance listing RTO9 as additionally insured prior to paying any invoices for your project. So you want to get these done as soon as possible to avoid delays in payment and to ensure that your project can begin on time. So because the ministry is funding the program, RTO9 is expected to meet their requirements for RFPs depending on the nature of the expense. So for an expense under $5,000, you must indicate that a search for the best value for dollar was completed. And anything over $5,000 requires an RFP process to take place, which is recommended at minimum a window of 10 to 14 days for qualified quotes to be submitted. And then you must provide at least 3 written quotes for the expense. The partner will permit RTO9, if required, to audit or verify the information submitted at the discretion of the province. So project reports, what's required after the project is underway. So applicants, once they're approved for funding, are required to submit written ministry reports. There's a mid-year and a final report where applicable, depending on the length and duration of your project, to reconcile the use of the funds and provide insight into the project. So these reports include a description of activities linked to the project as outlined in the application, digital copies of any marketing materials and links to social media posts, proof of acknowledgement of RTO9 and the ministry for funding support, explanation of any variance between the application and the report, and budget forecasting for remaining expenses between December and February of 2025, depending on the duration of your project. So project evaluation criteria, what's expected of applications to the program? So these requirements are mandatory for all projects entering into an agreement with RTO9 for this program. The partner agrees to compliance with the RTO9 procurement policy. That is the RFP process. Partner agrees to incorporate the provided Ontario logos in the project where applicable and compliance with the acknowledgements. The proposal is consistent with the RTO9's business plan, compliance with the program accounting, submittal of invoices, documentation and reporting procedures, and a maximum of 1 application per business per intake period. When submitting your application, priority will be given to those that are submitted from private sector businesses. Promote overnight visitation, which increases the length of stays. Include 2 or more partners that are financially committed to the project, in addition to the RTO9, have clearly defined and measurable goals. So process and next steps, what's next? So the project intake period will be opening February 12th, and it will be closing March 3rd. March 3rd at 11:59 p.m. So no applications will be accepted after this deadline. Applications and full guidelines are available on the RTO9 website. I'm strongly encouraging you to read all of the guidelines and important information documents prior to applying. Your application must be submitted through the online portal. Don't submit your application to me personally, submit them through the portal. If you have any issues with the application, you can always email me at mdavros@region9tourism.ca. And a maximum of 1 application can be submitted per organization. So now that you've read this, if you haven't done so already, please read through the 2024-2025 Partnership Fund Guidelines. It's on the website. This document contains all the information you need to know about this program. The next step would also be to connect with your local DMO and DMP and notify them of your application and obtain a letter of confirmation or a letter of support from them to be included with your application. Fill in the provided application form and then hit send. You will also be required to upload your DMO DMP letter, your copy of proof of incorporation, CRA business number, certificate of Indian status registry number, or Métis registry number at the same time. This is the only documentation you are absolutely required to submit at this time. So after the window closes, all the applications will be submitted to a third-party assessment team to ensure the MTCS guidelines are met. All applicants will be contacted via email regarding the status of their application, either whether you've been approved or you've been denied within 25 days of submission of your application. Please don't contact us requesting an update during this time. I promise I will let you know as soon as possible how your application fared. We try not to keep people hanging, so we're working on it as quickly as we can. So just some important reminders. So all the funding is subject to RTO9 receiving our transfer payment agreement with the ministry. Projects cannot start without the receipt of the signed contract, submission of the required documents, and receipt of your 50% contribution, all within 30 days of receiving the contract from RTO9. All invoices must be made out to RTO9 with accompanying EFT information. Guidelines and other information, which I highly encourage you go back and read as soon as possible if you've not done so already, is available on the RTO9 website. So yeah, if you go on our website, there's a couple of examples of good applications and bad applications. The online form will save your answers, but you must be using the same device. So I strongly encourage you favorite the page to return to later. You can also type out your answers into a Word document and copy and paste them into the form the day of your application. I'll go through that in a second as well. We can go through an example application. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Here's my contact information again. Please write it down or draft an email right now. But this is how you can get in contact with me. So first, I'm going to show you the partnership funding page. This has all of the information you may need on it. It has all the dates. It has the budget template. It has the guidelines here, including eligible and ineligible expenses. It has all of the contacts for the local DMOs, DMPs, if you aren't already connected with your DMO or DMP office. And here's those examples. I talked about the good application and poor application. If you're interested in having a look at those to kind of assess what we're looking for when it comes to the applications. So when the application period opens, obviously right now it's not open yet, recording this before then, there is going to be a button here that will show up that will take you to the application. And this is what the application is going to look like. So it's an online form. Things that are required, it will not let you move on to the next page until you upload that document or submit it. Again, you can return to this form. It will automatically save. You can return to this form as long as the application period is open to continue doing your application. So I really strongly recommend bookmarking the page so you have quick access to it. It makes it the easiest to get back to your application. Or again, you can have a Word document drawn up, put all your answers in the Word document, and then when you're ready to submit your actual application, you can come back to this form and just copy and paste everything in. I will go through it with you now. There's links to everything. If you're missing anything, so you could see the application guidelines, examples of eligible expenses, and again, finding your local DMO, DMP here. So we'll hit next. The first page is really just basic information, what category you're applying to, what your project name is, what your business is, your operating address, which region you're operating in, your website, who we should be contacting regarding the application process and their contact information, and then the date that you've submitted it. Here, if you've had any other past projects with us, we just like to know what we've funded previously, what it was, what was the nature of the event. You can just put it in here. Obviously, I put none. Meg's culinary business is has not received funding previously. So the next question is, so project descriptions and objectives. So again, there's applications on the website that show some more in-depth descriptions here, but things that we're looking for, so objectives and goals, how it's going to assist the business with revenue creation, project stages and milestones, and the rationale and demand for the project. Why does the region need this project to take place? So assessment and performance, some SMART goals. So specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely goals. So these, the best way to put them in is number-based goals that you're looking to achieve. So in the examples, some of them are saying, we want to have 50 tickets sold, or we want to have, 5,000 attendees, things that are measurable, so that when you come to us with your reporting, we can clearly see, even if you don't hit those goals necessarily, we can see where you fell on the spectrum of, what you were looking for and hoping to achieve and what you did achieve. Project timelines. So we want to know what the stages of your project are in terms of planning, marketing, setup, tear down. This is where you're going to put all of that in. We have 10 spots available. You don't have to fill them all. As long as you have, major milestones for your project and what you're hoping to accomplish. So other financial contributions, if you're having other either granting or organizations who are providing funding to help with this project, you're going to put them in here. If you have nobody else, it's just you, you're just going to put NA for the first funding amount, say not applicable. But if you do have other funding sources, whether it be provincial, municipal, or private donors, be sure to put them in here so that we know what other funds are coming into play. So project budget. So you're going to need to upload a project budget. I've included a link here to a template that you can use. It also, on that template, it includes an example of how to fill a budget out. So you're going to fill that budget in, and then you're going to upload it here. There's going to be a button. I've already uploaded one. You're going to click the button, pick the file that you want, and upload it to your application here. And then economic benefits. So we want to know how the project's going to benefit the local or regional economy in terms of tourism development in the region. So ideally here, you'd also have a sustainability plan for the project. If you're an event that's starting, we want to know what your plans are for longevity to continue this project down the road. This is totally optional. You'll see that there's no file chosen here, but we do provide a link out to the Tourism Regional Economic Impact Model. This will help you assess what the economic impact would be on the community. Really event driven. So if you're doing an event application and you're interested in using this model, you can access it here. For anybody else, not necessary. It's really an event specific model, but it just adds a little bit more depth to your application if you're an event who's looking to apply. A communications plan. So we want to know how you're marketing and how you're recognizing other businesses or your destination. So this could include social media posts, newspaper articles, newsletters that you're putting out, videos that you're creating. So you're going to put that all in here. And you just have to let us know how you're going to utilize the RTO9 or ministry logos or hashtags within your communications plan. So management and support plan. So when there's more than one partner involved, we need letters of commitment from the other partners to say that they are supporting this project and what their role is. Basically, we want to know your business's structure, what capabilities you have of delivering on this project. So you put your answer here. If you do have other partners, you can upload their letters of support here. This just lets us know what the support is like for your project and your capacity to actually deliver on the project. So supporting documentations, this is a lot of important stuff and things that we will need to have uploaded or your application will not be able to submit. I don't think you can even move on from this page without uploading these things. So one is your proof of not-for-profit status, proof of corporate status, CRA number, certificate of Indian status registry number, or the Métis registry number. You can upload it here. This little green button will let you pick the file that you need. And then the letter of support from your DMO or DMP. So again, I highly encourage you reach out sooner rather than later and get something put into writing. Even if you have a response from them in an email saying, let's say they're out of office, or they're bogged down, but they're going to get to you. If by the time that the application period is closing, please reach out to me and let me know. We might be able to bypass this for that, but we will still need a letter of support from them eventually. Ideally, you get it now and upload it with your application. But if you're having any issues with this one, please let us know. Obviously, we don't want projects not to be submitted if their DMO office is too busy. But please just reach out to me in this case if there's some busyness and you can't get the letter of support because they're busy on their end or the person's out of the office. Please reach out because we want to circumvent that and still be able to get your application in on time. I've also made a note here that while it's not required at this time, that 2 million commercial general liability is something that you're going to have if your project is approved for funding. And then this is just the final checklist. So you're going to want to make sure you have or you are aware of all of these things. So it won't let you move on until you check the list, just to make sure that you've covered everything that you needed to cover. And then once you've done that, if you click done, it will submit your application. And it will send me a copy of all of your supporting documents and your application. So once you've hit done, I will receive everything. You can always, if you're a little bit nervous, it should say thank you, your answers are received. But if you're a little bit nervous, please feel free to, you can always reach out and just say, just to confirm that you got my application. And I'd be happy to send you along a little note to just say, yes, received, and it's been put in the pile with everybody else. And we'll let you know as soon as possible how your application did. So I'm just gonna quickly go back here, put my information back on the screen. So make a note here. Here's my contact information again. Please feel free to reach out with any questions you may have. Want to make sure you're getting the information you need. And thank you so much for watching this recording. I hope that it helped clarify some things. If not, please feel free to reach out if you have specific questions about your project. Happy to help answer them. And hopefully we'll see your application in shortly. So thank you so much for joining, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Bye.